A turbulent year in Washington is coming to a close with no signs of progress as the partial government shutdown stretches into a second week. President Trump, who campaigned on his ability to cut deals, has not reached out to Democratic congressional leaders in 9 days. That's as one top Republican is now signaling the president may be willing to strike a deal. This morning, the partial government shutdown is heading into its 10th day, with both sides stuck in a standoff over the proposed border wall. Talk of new optimism on the part of the president.
He was in a very good mood, and I think he's receptive to making a deal if it achieves his goals of securing our border.
Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham strategizing Sunday with Mr. Trump over a 2-hour lunch. The senator sending a surprising new signal from the West Wing.
The wall has become a metaphor for border security.
Graham suggesting Mr. Trump might consider a compromise that would extend work permits and temporary legal status to qualified undocumented immigrants in exchange for billions to build border barriers.
The president didn't commit, but I think he's very open-minded.
That private meeting capping President Trump's fourth straight day with no public events. The president out of sight, but active on Twitter, leveling a stunning accusation after 2 migrant children died in federal custody earlier this month. Any deaths of children at the border are strictly the fault of Democrats and their pathetic immigration policies. Mr. Trump arguing migrants would not make the journey. If we had a wall, they wouldn't even try. Democratic lawmakers say a border wall is a deal breaker.
He's trying to extract $5 billion from the American taxpayer to pay for something that clearly would be ineffective.
Adding his voice to the debate, outgoing White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, saying Trump's long-promised southern border wall is not what he has portrayed. Kelly telling the Los Angeles Times, to be honest, it's not a wall. And also blaming former Attorney General Jeff Sessions for the policy separating undocumented immigrants from their children at the border. Kelly saying the move took him by surprise.
And Geoff, as a reminder of the real-life implications of this shutdown, the New York Police Commissioner reminds us that the FBI and Secret Service are working tonight to secure Times Square, and they're not getting paid tonight. So all of this comes, of course, as the president is also tweeting about his predecessor, Barack Obama. What's he saying, Geoff?
Yeah, he is. Here's that tweet, Kristen. He says, President and Mrs. Obama built a 10-foot wall around their D.C. mansion/compound. I agree, totally necessary for their safety and security. The U.S. needs the same thing, slightly larger version. So the Obamas bought their home here in Washington, D.C. in 2017, and the website TMZ reported back then that the couple was building this fence-like wall around their property. Now, a spokeswoman for the Obamas declined to comment on all of this, but here's the thing. In her new book, Becoming, former First Lady Michelle Obama wrote that Donald Trump's embrace of false conspiracy theories about her husband made her fear for her own family's safety and security. Kristen and Chanel.
Geoff, important point. Thank you for that report. Appreciate it.